Welcome back to another episode on the podcast. This week, I speak with Joelle Lambiotte du Lac. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Again, she is the founder of Alohi Maui, and she was on the podcast last year. I believe it was around February 2022. I will have that episode linked in the show notes. So if you want to go back and listen to it, I highly, highly recommend it. We talked so much about her journey with Hawaii. It was very, talked a lot about spirituality, the connection there, her skincare products. And so I wanted to have her on just to speak to skincare because we didn't really get into that the last episode. Her story and her connection with the island is just so beautiful. And so we really spoke a lot to that last time. And so I wanted to, again, have her on this time to really, really speak about her skincare line because it has changed so much for me. Last year, I got off birth control, which I really believe helped, but I have always dealt with acne. Like, whether I don't even know, I never went to a dermatologist, but I always dealt with acne. And when I began to use her products and got off birth control, my skin just like transformed. And I always say these episodes are so divinely timed to when they actually come out. Even if I've like shifted things around, just it's always absolute perfect timing with the release. And because I go through and I edit them, and it always, I'm left, I just edited this episode and I'm left feeling this full body, like deep love and gratitude and joy. And this past week, I have been feeling very tired. It's really been manifesting as tiredness and my skin. My skin has been reacting. I've been having a lot of acne, which I have not had in like the last year and a half that I've been using these products and just being a little bit more intentional with my skincare routine. And something that Joelle talks about in this episode is that sometimes our skin reacting is just emotions or stress. And so it was a really great reminder to me that the tiredness I've been feeling, the exhaustion I've been feeling, the burnout I've been feeling is showing in my skin. And so it's sort of like taking it back to, the simple. And I have a Lauren Aletto, who's been on the podcast twice, is I consider my guide, my mentor, my spiritual teacher, my friend. And I am currently in a psychic development program with her. And she just had said that I have been coming up for her. And so we were just having a conversation, and she was just telling me, she was like, "You're just so tired. Like, you need to come back to that feminine flow and just like rest and all the things." And it, of course, as anybody who is growing a business or who runs a business and just is always busy, it is really hard to be like, okay, I'm going to rest, because even today, like editing this podcast, that feeling that I get, like, this is so important to me. This brings me so much joy, and I am so grateful for every single person that I get to have on here. And so I know how important and how powerful this podcast is. And so I'm not taking a pause on the podcast, but there are a few things that I'm simplifying. My son in human design is in gate 23, and that's the gate of simplicity, right? And so even with speaking with Joelle and her skincare routine, she talks about your skincare routine. She talks about how your skin works. She talks about hyaluronic acid, how to use oil on your skin, vitamin C, Ayurveda in skincare, acne. I mean, we talked about parenting and so much, but what is so beautiful about Joelle and her skincare products and the routines that she recommends for people is that she's taken something that is so complex, right? Skincare. I mean, so many people, it's like you need to do an exfoliant and a cleanser and this and a that. And it turns into like a 20 product regimen, right? But she distills it down and makes it so simple. So simple in the products that she uses, so simple in the products that she recommends. And just the process is so simple, and it just lights up my gate 23, which is my conscious sun. I love it. My love language is like simplicity. And it's so interesting because when I notice myself falling in the complexity, which happens, I'll notice it even in sometimes the way I'm expressing things or the way I'm over explaining things, or when I look around my house and I've got shit everywhere, right? Like, that complexity, I know when I'm feeling that I'm misaligned. And just the simplicity and the beauty of these products is truly felt and just makes me so happy. And she talks a lot about, listening to your skin, because your skin is always telling you something. It's just like we always talk on this podcast, right? listen to your body. Your body always knows. Your body always has a message for you. So can you listen to that? Can you actually hear it? Because so often, even I had a conversation today with somebody, it's like the conversation was about dairy, right? And how so often people like can't tolerate dairy, yet they don't listen to their body. Your body is always telling you something. And then it becomes more difficult to listen to your body because you've abandoned all the messages that it's told you. Every single time your body tries to tell you something, you're like, nah, not today. Nah, I'll listen to it another time. And it's always, always telling you something. And so, again, listen to your body. When you're having acne, like I've been dealing with acne, it could have been easy to just go to the store and get like a random product and put it all over my face in the hopes that it was going to make it go away. But really listening, and again, this podcast episode was a reminder that it could be emotional. It could be stress related because yes, a few things in my routine have changed a little bit, but there's always something beneath the surface, right? That is being expressed through your skin and through your emotions, right? Our emotions are spirit speaking through us, spirit speaking to us. And can we listen to that? And yeah, just this skincare, these products have just been game changing for my skin. And Joelle is just so intentional and her products are so beautiful and you can feel it. I remember the very first time I put on the golden oil that she talks about in this episode, it feels so incredible. And that's what I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this stuff feels amazing, just so nourishing. And then like learning how to apply these products and in what order. And Joelle in this episode gives you a skincare routine that you can use her products or not. You don't have to buy hers, but of course, if you want to, everything is linked in the show notes. There is a link you'll see it down there to go to her website and buy her products. I highly recommend because again, they've just been so amazing. And her suggestion for coconut oil, she talks about it again in this episode, has been absolutely, I use it every single night. Coconut oil as a cleanser rather than anything else, and the exfoliant is just a warm rag, and it's been so helpful. And yeah, we just talk all about skincare. We dive deep into skincare, and at the end, we go a little bit. We talk about forgiveness, and she reminded me of this the last episode, and I think because I've been sort of hitting this wall of frustrations, this wall of burnout, that I've sort of been forced to simplify things and come back to things, and scale back on things and just really focus on what's actually bringing me joy and what's lighting me up. She just has this beautiful reminder that just like forgive yourself, right? Forgive yourself for doing whatever it is that you don't want to be doing because we're all human. We're all trying to navigate this experience. We're all trying to find a way to be and to be happy. And we're in this process just remembering who we are, remembering our power. It's been so beautiful. I have stepped back a little bit from the intensity that I usually do things because it's like every spare moment that I get, I'm trying to work in some way. I'm trying to create content. I'm trying to make videos. I'm trying to edit the podcast. And it's like my podcast editing process is split up into like 5 days, trying to do a little bit here and a little bit there and then catch up videos here and videos there. And so I've just decided that Sunday nights is a start to finish process of podcasts. Yes, I might be up until 11 o'clock tonight, which I don't ideally like to be up to, but it's going to be done, which then frees up more space for other things. And I'm spending time when my kids are home with my kids as opposed to, being on the computer or doing this and that. And literally, this is just a decision that I made like last Wednesday. So I'm still like learning the process and how it's going to work. But yesterday, I went out with my kids and we went, walking outside, and it was just so beautiful. I found this like market, and it had all sorts of crystals and sort of more like spiritual based. And I walked over to this booth that had a DIY perfume, and my kids got into it. And it was just in the connection I made with the owner, who I'm going to ask to come on the podcast at some point, and hopefully host, a workshop at her store. But like, I wouldn't have had that experience. I wouldn't have made that connection. I wouldn't have felt that joy and love like with my kids in creating something so intentional and so beautiful. Now that they're both walking around with this perfume that they created, it's like a roller oil base. You chose your oils, but it was just so beautiful. And watching them make these decisions and choose intuitively choose these different incense or these different oils and different stones and different flowers. And at the end when the woman was telling them what each thing meant, it was so aligned. Like intuitively, they chose things that were like perfect for them. Like everything my son chose was for communication. And if you're listening and my son, all he does is talk, right? And so like this will help him like feel more in tune with that. And then my daughter, the things that she chose were for self-love, and that is definitely what she needs right now. And so I wouldn't have had that experience had I not like sort of scaled back and just decided to be present. And so, yeah, it's just I'm already feeling myself feeling more grounded and being lit up by the things that I used to be lit up by. Like I was just feeling so resistant to sitting in meditation. I was feeling so resistant. Like I wasn't even feeling my emotions. It was really strange because I'm so emotional. My emotions are always guiding me in some way. And I felt like cut off from that. And it was like I was so tired that I couldn't even connect with my body because I just needed a deep rest. Like I was thinking like last week, it was like I'm physically tired, yes, but it's like a deep, like my soul is tired. Like I just needed to just relax and recharge. And I feel like I've always got something on my plate, but right now it's like I've got so much on my plate. And then, which always happens, I'm working on manifestation. And so then there'll always be this part of manifestation where all these shadows come up and then it becomes overwhelming. And so it's a whole thing, but just kind of coming back to myself and give myself some rest. And so yeah, this is a reminder for you to forgive yourself and wherever you're at in the process. Like it is a process and we are all just navigating. And yeah, it is beautiful. And again, I was just reminded today how much this lights me up, how much I love doing this and speaking to you in this way and speaking, to these guests and in these connections, and all of it is just so beautiful. So I will leave it at that. The membership is open. And this month we were talking about type, strategy, and authority. We had our first live call March 21st, the day of the new moon. And the call is up in the membership. So if you join it and you missed that call, like you still have access to it. Again, we are diving into type, strategy, and authority. And this is just a space to really learn your design, integrate your design, learn with others in community. Community has been my word this year, and I've said that so many times, but it truly is my word of the year. And so if you're interested in that, the link is down below. I'm still available for one-on-one sessions. And then yeah, I mean, I'm going to do an episode on Healy because I'm learning more about it. It's just so cool. I'm just the frequency and the technology, and it's just like all the Aquarius energy is just so in alignment. So I'm probably going to do that either next week or the next solo episode after that, just to kind of like dive into that a little bit. But everything you need to know is down in the show notes. How you can find Joelle, it's Alohi Maui on Instagram. And if you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Rochelle.Christian. That's ROCHELLE.CHRISTIANE. And website is RochelleChristian.com. You can find everything you need to access on there as well. And yeah, everything else is down below. And I thank you so much for listening. I am beyond grateful for every single one of you that are listening. Whenever you're listening, I'm so grateful for it. And I will catch you next week. Well, welcome back to the Emotional Mastery Podcast. Today I have Joelle Lambiotte du Lac on the episode. Yeah. Making sure I got it right. So Joelle is from Alohi Maui, the company Alohi Maui, and she was on the podcast back, I believe it was January or February of 2022. I believe this episode is going to come out March or so of 2023. So it's going to be over a year after the fact. And our conversation was just so beautiful. I loved your story of, how you went from Hawaii to across the world and then back to Hawaii, and how you created this brand. And I think during the first recording, I had been using your products for a few weeks, like maybe a month or a few weeks. And so now I'm consistently been using it for, close to a year. And my skin has transformed. I also went off birth control. So I attribute some of it also to
Of course.
releasing the hormones from my body, but literally my skin on my face has just like transformed. And For anybody who has not listened to the original episode, I'm going to leave the link. Go listen to it. But right at the end, you shared a tip for coconut oil on my face, and it literally has changed the game. So without going like too much into that, because we're going to get into that in this episode, just for anybody who maybe has not heard the first episode, I'm going to give you the floor to give yourself a brief introduction to who you are, what Alohi Maui is, and then we can dive in.
Okay, thank you, Joelle, and I'm just so unbelievably honored that I've been invited back. I just thank you, because I've really been hoping to share this information that I've learned through experience. So I really want to share it. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. So my name is Joelle Lambiotte du Lac, and I am living in Maui. And the short version is I grew up in Maui. I went away for a long time, and I came back. And so when I came back, I had already been working with herbs and plants for a long time in Europe, where I was living. And I decided that I wanted to apply what I learned to Hawaiian plants and make some things from Hawaiian plants. And just to recap, because it's such an important part of who I am and what I do, is that I was very fortunate as a young girl to meet a Hawaiian elder who taught me about the plants and who took me up. I was only 11. I had no idea what I was receiving. I had no idea. I would have been plucked off the East Coast, and I landed in the middle of the mountains in Hawaii in 1970 when there was no one around. So it's like, what universe am I in? And no other kids to play with. So long story short, she kind of adopted me in a system called, in Hawaii, they call the Hanai system, which is basically anybody's child can belong to any adult that decides that they're going to take care of them in any way possible. So I really consider her my Hanai auntie. And anyway, so that's important to know about me, because it's so much a part of what I do. And what I do is I make skincare that actually helps skin take care of itself. Well, what a concept. And so I'm going to really be digging into it today to tell you what I do and how I do it, and give you lots of tips that have nothing to do with my products. No, I just designed them to really work with this system that I want to pass on to you. And that's really what it is. It's a system, and I create products that support this way of taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, I think there's such, and why this is so important, this conversation, because gosh, I can remember using face products that like burned my skin, right? Like you would put it on or you'd scrub your face. And I mean, I think as so many of us, in puberty and adolescence, like we struggle with acne and hormonal imbalances to begin with. And then we think we're just like lighting what's the term? Lighting the fire with fuel, or fuel with fire, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. We're just like making it so much more intense. And, I think for me, I had no skincare practices until I hit like 30. I slept with my makeup on every single night. If I did take my makeup off, it was something that like burned my skin, burned my eyes. And then I just hit 30 and I had my second child, and something was like, I got to start taking care of my skin, because at the time I had quit smoking. So I was a smoker until I was about 28, which also wasn't helping my skin. But somehow like my skin wasn't awful, maybe because of the food I ate. I've been plant-based for about 12 years and really conscious of what I'm putting in my body, other than alcohol and cigarettes, like the face products. But there is like such a huge misconception, and with marketing and everything, we're promised all these, outcomes if we use XYZ products. And so it's so important to understand, we look at what we're ingesting in our body, we look at the ingredients for food and, this, that, and the other thing, but then what we're putting on our skin, we just turn a blind eye. And so it's definitely a conversation that I think is really important as women, or men, anyone with skin, right? Like just to take care of it, because it's just, it's really powerful. And, our body, if we take care of our body takes care of us inside and out. So
that's the bottom line. And skin is your largest organ. It is literally the envelope of your soul. It's how you show up in the world. I mean, it's not insignificant, and we treat it like, this is my latest line, like we treat skin like it's a problem that needs to be fixed. And your skin is not a problem. Your skin is your best friend. Your skin keeps you from, it actually is an integral part of your immune system. There's a very interesting book called Immune, and I'm not going to remember the author of it, but he goes through exactly how the immune system works. And at one point, he talks about the importance of skin for starting certain mechanisms that lead to antibody production, T cells, etc. So, we're learning that we're systems,
Mm.
that this body we carry around is a system. It's not like one thing. Everything's really, really connected.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with your skin, it's an incredible regenerative organ as well. So not only does it protect you, but if you take care of it, it it is very healthy. It's like, what do you have to do to keep your skin healthy and working the way it should? And I'd love to get into how skin should work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because
And
I
I think,
think that's important.
well, and I think in skin is an indicator of what's going on inside, right?
Definitely.
And so paying attention to it. So yeah, we can absolutely start there.
Okay. So you hit on a really important point, which is no matter what anybody promises you about skincare, if there's stuff going on um, with your diet or stress, these are things that are going to cause your skin to react. It just will. And everybody's different, right? So some people get more or less. So that, I think, is the first message I'd like to pass on about skin, is that listen to it.
Mm.
Listen to your skin, because if your skin isn't happy, something's wrong. And it could be inside, it could be outside. But if your skin isn't good, then you need, like, if it's really reacting, and I'm not saying good or bad, I don't want to use those words because that they don't really exist, good or bad skin.
Mm.
It's just, if your skin is reactive, if it's upset, learn to hear that, learn to listen to that, and figure out what's going on. So again, it could be internal, and I'm not the person to talk about the internal stuff, but it's just a question you ask, which could be food, it could be emotional, it could be all kinds of things. But we get those questions all the time. We get to search for what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the little gifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's stuff you're putting on your skin, so um, skin to function really has something called a skin barrier. There's actually, so your skin is in layers, and I think most people know that. And you get to deeper and deeper layers, and when you get to a certain layer of your skin, it regenerates itself and it rises to the surface. So this is this continual process that your skin undertakes to renew the surface of your skin. So a lot of modern skincare provokes that reaction because it's powerful and it does create new skin. So thus all the retinols, aggressive scrubs, those things are all designed to take that first layer of skin off. The problem is that you kind of need it, and there are ways to work with it, that yes, you need to exfoliate, and yes, as you get older, you don't exfoliate as well. That's just a natural aging process. But again, if you learn how to exfoliate listening to your skin, then you can help that. So I'll get back to that in a minute. But so your skin is, if you can imagine it, it's like they got a very deep underlayer that is constantly like producing new skin. And then at the top, the cells fall away. Well, that's sort of what we've been taught. I think most estheticians, that's what they learn. But what we've discovered now is there's also, like, your skin is alive. Like, there's a community of viruses and bacteria and other things that live on your skin, and it's a symbiotic relationship. So if you destroy the microbiome of the skin, and we're like worlds. We have different microbiomes in different parts of our body as well. So there is a face microbiome, there is an underarm microbiome, there is other microbiomes.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of have their own little territories, and the skin has a particular one of the face. So, and typically it's because the facial skin is thinner generally than the rest of your skin. So it's a thinner, your neck is thin, this part of your is thin, the skin is thinner than it is in other areas of your body, your feet, your hands, for example, much thicker, your
Mm-hmm.
arms, your legs. So that point about the skin barrier, which is made up of lipids, mainly oils, because your skin is constantly producing oils, which are absolutely necessary for healthy skin. You want to encourage your skin to make oil, basically. But then you have to also maintain the balance of that oil. So that becomes the trickier part. So the way that I like to talk about skin and think about skin is if you think about it like it's a garden. Like, how you care for a garden. When it's dry, you water it. When it needs feeding, you give it food. And when you need to work up the soil a little bit because there's not enough air in there and things aren't getting through, you get out there and turn the soil or till it or rake it or get all the weeds out. So that's kind of how I would love for people to think about their skin, is like to attune to what it's trying to tell you as far as how you should take care of it. And it will tell you. So if you need more hydration, you'll feel that dry feeling. You know when your skin is dry. But a lot of times people don't realize how to, like if your skin is parched, how to get the water in there. And that's hard because your skin is designed not to let things in. And that's why I developed the water product, because it's so concentrated. And so I use science as well. My stuff is all plant-based except for some amazing chemicals that are sustainably produced, but that are extremely good at what they do and aren't dangerous to your skin. They're not dangerous to the environment. They're really an amazing discovery as far as I'm concerned. And that's the hyaluronic acid, which is an amazing chemical. And I use in my products because the problem with getting hydration into your skin is the molecule is big and it doesn't get through. Mm-hmm. So you need to find vehicles to help it get into your skin. So like the products that will do this, and I'm telling you this not just for my product, this is any product that you want to get hydration into your skin, use hyaluronic acid, but use it, understand how it works. So if you are going to buy it, you get a really good one. And don't waste your money, because that's really ridiculous. So now you can buy hyaluronic acid in different weights. And they're not nanoparticles, but they're very, very small. But that's really expensive to do that because those products are expensive. And they're also so powerful that you could actually dry your skin if they're not used properly, because they pull all the moisture into your skin, which is great. But you have to use it with water, which is what I love about what I discovered about this product. Is I made a very concentrated hyaluronic acid so that you use it over wet skin. So you need hardly any. And then all that dampness, the hyaluronic acid works to bring it into your skin. And then I've added other things that are just so good for your skin that get drawn in. And so that's how I water my skin, if I want to put it that way. And that's why I called it rainwater. That's why it's called an essence. It's like, it's water-based. It doesn't have any oils in it. And it's to put moisture in your skin. And by the way, you can use it all over your body. It's so concentrated now that, a little drop, if your skin is wet, it has to be quite damp. That's another thing. Like, most products are water. You're buying water. I'm not
That's what I was
selling
going to
water.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
if water is
selling you
like the first ingredient in something, are we to shy away from it or question it?
you just look at the size of it and how quickly you get used up, and you'll know how much water is in it. Because hyaluronic acid, for it to work, it needs a lot of water. So if you don't explain to people, like my products, like you got to use it with water, and it's made to be used with water. So if I wasn't doing that and explaining that really well, I would put more water in my product, because hyaluronic acid needs water to work.
So we want,
But go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, so for your product, we want to be using it like right after we've washed our face without like towel drying it or anything. Like it's kind of putting that
Yes.
on a wet
Yeah.
face. Okay.
On a wet face, wet skin,
Mm,
wet skin. And wet or damp, this is the other thing that you have to listen. I love just mixing a few drops with a lot of water and then smoothing it on because I live here where I'm out in the open air and it dries quickly.
mm,
Um, but I'll get to the next step now, which is the oil. And if you want to use the oil, you want it to dry down a little bit, but not completely. Because you want a little bit of slip on your skin to now add the oil.
mm-hmm,
And so the oil is the food. The oil restores your lipid barrier, which can get harmed, especially if you live in a dry environment or as you age, because again, your skin isn't producing as much oils as it did when you were younger. So all of those things. But it's just like your skin loves oils. It just loves them. You've already got oil on your skin, you add oil and they're like, oh yeah. So it's kind of like even people that have acne, and I'll get to like the different skin conditions and how you
mm-hmm,
might adjust this system to different skin conditions. But, adding oil, it just really, especially in the day, reinforces your skin again so it can resist those UV rays and it can, be comfortable. Um, so yeah, I like oils. I like facial oils a lot. So that's why I made one. And I made it with so the golden oil is it's actually gold.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I know you've tried it, Rochelle. And it has natural minerals in it. And it has those minerals so that it kind of reflects the sun and it gives you a soft focus. So if you don't want to wear makeup, it's not going to cover the quality of your skin, but it's just lovely. It gives you a little glow. It's very nice.
mm-hmm.
I like it.
And it
See,
feels
I like it.
amazing. Yeah.
And it feels amazing.
Mm-hmm,
And the oils in it are amazing because, again, I wanted this oil to be something that your skin can use to protect itself from the day. So, sun, it has the new formula has vitamin C in it. It has an oil soluble vitamin C, so it means that it doesn't oxidize or degrade, so it's really powerful. But it also has then these amazing Hawaiian plants. It has turmeric and calendula and Kona coffee cherries, and they're all things that grow here. The oil grows here, all that grows here. Um, so that's kind of the heart of
mm-hmm,
it. And it's like having that heart carrying those few very specific ingredients that I kind of curated as the things that
mm-hmm.
really help. Um, and in the right forms, because it's one thing to write on a label that it has vitamin C, but if it's not stable and it's not formulated properly, it's doing you no
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the water is essentially priming your skin to take in the oil, or the water is moisturizing and then the oil is just what's
The
protecting.
water is hydration.
Okay.
So, think of it in hydrate. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you hydrate yourself, you hydrate your body. So it's water for your skin.
Mm-hmm.
And the oil, what it does is one of the reasons why the skin barrier also, gets in trouble, like in the winter, is because it loses water from the inside. Your skin regulates how you lose water. So if you're in a very dry environment, your skin's going to send water up to your skin and you're going to lose that hydration. That's why in the winter where it's very dry, your skin gets dry. It's actually losing water from the inside. So you've got to get that back in either by drinking, we all know that, but also that's where the hydration comes in. But because you can lose water the other way, you want an oil because it traps it in your skin. That reconfigures the skin barrier, which keeps water in as well, so that you get that right balance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, if you think about it in those terms, it changes everything the way you think about it if you want to care for your skin, because then you're like, okay, well, in the winter when it's really dry, I need I need something like a coat on my skin, like something waxy that's going to keep the moisture in. So that's a future project for cold mountain weather.
Yeah. So we can use the, sorry, continue.
Go ahead. But the golden oil for the day, I mean, even in very dry environments, you just use more. Yeah.
So the water, we can even use that like on our hands.
Yep.
Like in the oil too, or?
Well, you can use it all everywhere. You can use the oil on the ends of your hair. You can use it. The new oil I made, which I'll talk about in a minute, I mean, it's so healing that anytime you get a bruise or where you just need, I had a client, I swear, right before I got on, I sent her the new oil and she said, I've been massaging my face with this every night because this is the opposite, right? This is really something to, nurture yourself at whatever moment that is good for you. Could be morning, could be night. She's been using a massage and she said her skin is looking better than she's ever remembered. And it's such a sweet, nurturing oil, this one. It's different. It has a different energy. But they all complement each other. They're kind of different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think a product for people that are living in really dry environments. I know when I went to the mountains last, I was lucky I got to the mountains last winter. And I got the greasiest, thickest thing I could find. I was in places where it was like minus 25. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
So your skin just, like, take care of it.
Yeah.
Put a coat on it.
My skin tends to, when it gets cold, like my knuckles, my hands will crack and bleed. And so I've always struggled with that, especially, I wash my hands a lot during the day doing what I do. And I just haven't found a solution to ease that. So I just literally walk around with cracked, bleeding hands all winter. And I'm like, this is what
honey.
it is. But I used to,
I'm going to work on something for your hands.
That would be amazing. That's why I asked, can I like put this like a little like travel thing in my bag and just drop it on
green oil on your hands.
The green oil.
The green oil is thicker.
Okay.
It's not out
yet. Well, I'll generally,
get it but by the time this podcast goes up,
it will be out. Yeah.
It's almost out.
Yeah.
At this moment.
Okay. So I think there's, and I was, I felt the same thing when I first started, not exfoliating as hard or doing these things. I feel like a lot of people shy away from oils because they feel like it's going to make their face really greasy. Yeah. So are there certain skin types that are better for oil, or what is the process to that? And I know like exfoliating tends to bring out more oils just because our skin needs it, right? And so it appears like more oily.
Yeah. Well, what happens when you exfoliate? And again, I'm just going to go through what I consider the ideal skincare process and how I would adjust it for different skin types.
Okay. Perfect.
Because I think that is probably, because it's all the same philosophy. And that's why, like, if you learn this about skin and you learn about your own skin, then you will know how to take care of your skin. And you can also interpret all those other things that you hear about how to take care of your skin, whether or not they're things that you really want to believe. So the first thing is how you cleanse your skin. And I don't have a cleanser because that is the one area where it really depends on what kind of skin you have or what's going on with your skin at the moment. And so as a general rule, however, oil is the best thing to wash your face with, even for people who have very oily skin. And this is the hint that I gave you, which was your skin's breaking out, use coconut oil. And, I'm not someone who's like, coconut oil is going to save the world. No. Coconut's great. There's some things it's not so good for, but for cleaning skin, it's awesome. And so I'm going to start with evening because I think you should never, ever wash your face in the morning. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people are going to come back to me and say, are you kidding me? All those things on your pillowcases. Those things on your pillowcases are just fine.
Especially if you go to bed with a clean face, right?
If you go to, exactly. So
Mm.
that's why we start in the evening with getting a clean face. So getting a clean face, use oil. If you really, really, really cannot tolerate oils, something like coconut oil, because you feel like it's breaking your skin out, use a thinner oil,
Mm-hmm.
but use an oil.
Does coconut oil, or can it for certain skin types, clog their pores?
Um, it's a matter of debate.
Mm.
I personally have not experienced that, nor do I know anybody who's experienced
Yeah.
that, including my daughter who had acne, who for years didn't believe me.
Mm.
And when she finally started doing it, she's like, oh my God, my skin cleared up. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I'll be a
not,
testament to that too, because I was hesitant with the coconut oil and I've been using it since we recorded last time and I have very minimal breakouts. I mean, like if I have one, it's like a small zit, like right before my period and it's gone.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And it's clear
yeah.
what's going on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, coconut oil, I really, but it is important to remove it. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to use a clean, warm washcloth. And guess what that does? That exfoliates.
Mm-hmm.
And it exfoliates in the gentlest possible way
Mm-hmm.
every day, a little bit. And so you don't need retinol or glycolic acid or AHAs or BHAs or any of those things. It's the gentlest, kindest way to, you know, and yes, sometimes it is appropriate for your skin if you've been sunburned and your skin now is drying and you want to really get those old skin cells off, that you exfoliate differently and use a physical exfoliant or a chemical exfoliant, but it's a very specific thing. And it's not something that you do it rarely when you really, really feel like you need a deeper clean. But again, this is learning about how to listen to your skin. Your
Mm-hmm.
skin will tell you when it's kind of like, oh, things aren't going in as well. It's not responding as well. Then you
Mm-hmm.
can exfoliate more deeply. And for that, again, there's so many different ways to do that. And I'm not, as long as it's not too aggressive, that's the important thing. If
Mm-hmm.
your skin is super, super, super red after you exfoliate, you've gone too far. It may be a little red, and then some people have reactive skin. So, like I have very reactive skin, so I know what's good red and bad red. But yeah, you don't want your skin to be red. Then you've gone too far. And then you leave it alone at night. And I'm going to contradict myself here because the new oil that I have, if you are going to use it, nighttime is the best time. I recommend, if you possibly can, to experiment with not doing anything on your skin at night and see how your skin feels in the morning. If you wake up and your skin is super dry or it feels like it's not happy in the morning, then use something at night or you go to bed. And the green oil is really good for that. Or if you just need a little extra loving care, I mean, it's a little bit thicker than my golden oil, so you can massage it. It has a nice slip, and you don't need much again with anything, but this is one you want to like really massage it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, that's and then in the morning, don't wash your face.
Yeah.
Don't wash your face. Splash water on it. If it needs hydration, use a hydrating product, mine or someone else's, but something that's specific for hydration and has hyaluronic acid in it,
Mm-hmm.
because it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of other good things in mine, but I'm not going to bore you. You can buy mine or you can buy hyaluronic acid. Find one you like,
Mm-hmm.
and then some kind of oil, some kind of facial oil to like bring it in. And the only other thing I would add, depending on your skin type and where you are, is perhaps sunscreen. And I'm still navigating sunscreen because I think it depends a lot on your skin type. I think the best way to avoid too much sun is to wear a pair of glasses and a hat.
Mm-hmm.
and and not go to the in the sun in the very bright parts of the day. And other than that, we need sun.
Yeah.
So, it's a delicate balance, but definitely sun will age your skin. There's no doubt about it. That is
Yeah.
a fact. But here's the other thing I think about skin is like we got to get over that.
Mm.
You're gonna age. Your skin's gonna age. Your body's gonna age. It doesn't really matter. The thing is how you take care of it,
Yeah.
and that's what matters. So, and you need sun. I mean, you do. You need sun for vitamin D for your immune system. So a little bit of sun is good. And then, but if you live in a place like I do, which is Hawaii, and there's a lot of sun and it's bright, and I like going to the beach, I'm going to wear a sunscreen. So again, it depends. But I also wear a long sleeve shirt and hat and glasses.
All summer, my kids, I mean, I'm in Texas, so it's hot, but we would go to the pool all the time. And I always told them, I'm like, if I can't find a space in the shade, we're going home because I don't want to sit. I'm not going to sit in the sun and just bake all day. I grew up in Dubai. I grew up on the beach, and I have never enjoyed just sitting in the sun. I've never enjoyed the process of sunscreen. And especially when I learned about sunscreen and what was in it and the chemicals and how it was actually like harming our skin, I was like, no. So I try and find as clean of a sunscreen product as I can for my kids because they go in the water, they're going to run around. I know I don't put anything on. I sit in the shade. Again, I have a hat, same kind of thing. But what do you recommend for when we're looking for sunscreen?
Oh my gosh, that is like a minefield. And I swear, when I find good ones, I'm going to share them because I think it's so important. And if not, I'm just going to have to make one.
I was going to say,
I'm really toying with it because I'm just going to make one. The problem with it is that it's a little bit contradictory because I want everything to be based here. For me, having this business in Hawaii with Hawaiians, with Hawaiian products is super important. That's like the number one priority. But to make a sunscreen and be able to say it has an SPF, it has to be made in an FDA approved lab facility, which Hawaii has none. And I don't know if I can build one. I may get to that point, but right now, no. So I would have to work with someone on the mainland who would formulate for me. And that's always a possibility, just I think as long as I'm clear, to incorporate some Hawaiian ingredients, even if we have to put them on an airplane. And and which I'm trying to avoid. That's the other. Don't get me started on the environment because that's a whole other thing.
I did write down a question about it. So
yeah, I mean this island is so precious.
Yeah.
So precious. And I mean the Hawaiian people are so precious to the world. It's like I want to do everything I can to help support this island so that it can stay a little bit the way it is.
Yeah. As far as you had mentioned vitamin C, and that is in the golden oil.
Yeah, now I've reformulated it with this. It's a vitamin C ester, so a sustainably produced vitamin C ester, and this is where science is interesting, because what they've done is, basically vitamin C is something that is quite easy to make synthetically and quite effective, even if it's synthetic. And if it's not synthetic, it's very unstable. Vitamin C will oxidize really fast. And when it's oxidized, it creates free radicals rather than preventing them. So you really don't want vitamin C that isn't super stable. And I never used vitamin C before. I didn't put it in the water deliberately because there isn't really any water-based vitamin C that's super stable. And in order to stabilize it, you have to add a lot of other things, which I didn't want to do. So I said, nah, not going to do that. So when I found this oil-based one and I started experimenting with some friends and using it, and I could really see that it helped make the product more effective. And yeah, it works.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Somebody what today was telling me they had just started using a vitamin C product and how their skin felt. And I was like looking at it, but I was just like, I'm just so, I love the products that I'm currently using.
Mm.
And I also, I like to be able to research now, just like having the knowledge of what I'm actually putting on my skin and in my skin, because, what goes on our skin is then in our body. So I'm trying to be really
Yeah.
particular about it. So it's kind of, synchronistic that you now have vitamin C in your golden oil. So I know I don't need
Oh,
to go look
good.
into the other product. I
I
can just get
have
more
to go
of yours.
just get more golden oil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's really my quest is like, how do we get this really simple and beautiful products that you don't use a lot of and that are sustainably made, and I just want to offer it out and use this business to also pass on some very important messages.
Hmm.
So I think I mean, we really are purpose driven
Hmm.
as a brand. And I think me,
Yeah.
because right now we is
Yeah.
pretty small here.
Yeah.
Hopefully there will be more. That
Yeah.
it's growing. It is
Hmm.
growing. I mean, I have lots of more help now. So,
Hmm.
I'm getting some help with marketing and things.
Hmm.
So, learning about things like podcasts where I get to talk to people directly, which is what I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
Well, and
thank you
that's
for
what
that
makes of
opportunity.
course, and that's what makes the brand so beautiful, because I think it's easy to, we talked about it in the last episode, how you stay committed to to your purpose and your mission, right? And I think a lot of brands it's easy to just, get big and then the product completely
Mm,
changes,
mm,
and I feel like it's really felt in your products. And we talked last time too about the
yeah.
deodorant, which I have it in my purse. Like I still it was just like the most effective thing. But not only, I mean, it works and it feels good,
Good.
and
Yeah.
that's what I love.
Yeah.
It's like some products, like I have, there was like a clay mask. Everybody was like talking about it, and I put it on my face. Like you talked about like redness. I put it on my face for the time I was supposed to. I took it off, and my face, it was like burned. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this like can't. And I tried it like two more times because I was like, maybe it's just like supposed to look like that, but it didn't feel good. So I was
Yeah.
like,
No,
even
no.
if it's
Yeah,
working, it's not
listen.
worth that.
Listen to your skin. Listen.
Yeah,
Number one message, listen, listen,
exactly. And
listen.
yeah. And for me, part of my purpose is just like learn teaching or guiding people, I'll say, through the podcast and through one-on-one sessions and group sessions and things like that, to be able to trust themselves inside and out. Right. And I think that's like,
Yes.
that is such a huge, our body is always telling us something,
Always.
whether it's if your skin is breaking out or your stomach is
Our
upset
emotions
or
are always telling us something.
always. I mean, and I'm always, my
Always.
leg hurts now, from running, but also there's part of me, it's like, what is it really telling me? What do I really need to do to like heal my leg right
Not run
now?
so much if
I
you're like
know, which is
tearing
the worst because I
up.
love to run. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Like,
gotta
gotta
find
find
something
something else.
else.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so resistant to it, but every time I get on the treadmill, it just hurts. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Well, find out why.
yeah,
Find out why.
yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. It's like if you got a
Mm-hmm.
pain when you're running, you should be able to run. So
Yeah.
find out why.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and that's like we have really good diagnostics. We have terrible ways of taking care of problems, but we have really
Yeah.
good diagnostics. And that's one thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, science.
Mm-hmm.
You can figure out what's wrong, at
Yeah.
least. Maybe sometimes, but usually for physical things like legs and
Like
stuff,
pains
they
like
can
that.
find
Yeah. I'm
out.
hoping it's just,
Yeah, they can
maybe
find
I
out.
need new sneakers, but you never know.
Maybe.
So
Could be.
just telling me, go get a new pair. Okay. So I am going to go back to environment, but just,
Okay.
just as far as our skin, because, I feel like right now our air quality, our soil, all these things are just so pumped full of toxins and chemicals. So it's like, how do we,
Yeah.
like, even using really clean products on our skin, like how are we still, is there a way we can even protect against what's actually just out there floating around, whether it's in our homes or just, walking outside?
Oh my God, if I had the answer.
Yeah.
Um, it's really getting hard. It is getting harder and harder. And I think, the only thing, it's just like pain in your body. We have pain and we got to figure out what's wrong. And, it's I really, I don't want to get into politics, but I really wonder what's happening in the world today. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy and very polarized, and people are angry, and it's a little bit, it's a little bit scary out there
Mhm.
right now. Um, but, you know, things are definitely moving. I think that's the other side of it, and
Mhm.
you can see it with more and more people um, realizing that we have so many choices, actually, in how to show up.
Mhm.
And, but avoiding the toxins, grow a garden if you can. Um, what else?
Plants in your
Try to live
house?
in a
Does that help with the I mean, that helps with the air?
ants,
At least plants. Having a lot of plants in
plants,
your home?
plants in your house, I guess. I'm really not one to say because I'm so freaking lucky to live where I
Yeah.
live that
Mhm.
I mean, it's hard to give advice because I mean, I'm very, very, very fortunate to live where I
Mhm.
live, and I know that. And I wish everybody could live here. I wish everybody could live in a place like this. And there's so much potential. The world, nature is just so generous, that I'm hanging on to the belief that the world could be utopia someday.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
right
just
there
gonna
with
like
you.
hold that thought
Yeah.
because why not?
Yeah.
But what they're gonna hold the opposite thought and just kind of dealing with what's in front of you.
Mm.
Like it's just so easy to get caught up in all these mind games of things that are happening way over on the other side of the world, which are horrible, don't get me wrong. But I was just thinking about this on the way home today in the car as I was driving here and to get home for this. And
Mhm.
I was thinking, it's just incredible how one of the most difficult things that we have to deal with as human beings right now is how little we have control over anything.
Mm.
We want to fix things. We want to take care of things because it's so much in human nature and it's such an important part of human nature to nourish in ourselves, right?
Mhm.
But when you think at the end of the day, then we have no control over anything. And so you do your best. You buy organic food when you can. If you smoke cigarettes, just smoke cigarettes. You forgive yourself. It's like the only thing that matters is for me, like being aware that every action you take has a consequence.
Mhm. Mhm.
Being as conscious as you can about the consequences of your actions, and then forgive yourself because you're not perfect and you never will be. And there's nothing that's perfect. And we're in a turmoil right now as a human race in a different way. But if you look at history, it's always been human life has never been an easy journey.
Yeah.
We forget.
And that's what we're here to do, right? Remember.
Remember. And
Yeah.
remember that, we really have that opportunity now. The world, I think just having these means of communication that we have now, where so much information is out there. And it has its drawbacks if you don't have a discerning mind.
Mm.
So really tuning into yourself and what's like deep and helping your mind to be discerning because your mind can only be discerning if what's inside is aligned.
Mhm.
Otherwise we get wrapped up in all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But and we do. So
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, just question everything. You don't have to take everything, even if it's something I say. You don't have to take it for your truth. And my son is great
Yeah.
at it. He questions everything. My daughter, she's a little bit older and she's kind of like starting a little bit later in like
Mm-hmm.
the healing journey. But I've been, I don't know, I've been reading a lot. I think my journey lately has been more in like universal law and
Mm-hmm.
the world and where we're headed. And we look at like indigenous cultures. And at one point in time, we were like, oh, they're like what's the word I'm looking for? Just like not advanced, right? But
Yeah.
it's they're far more conscious than we ever are as our consciousness right now. And it's like if we can just get back to that, right?
Yeah.
And connect with nature. And I try now and like just take my kids to like a park. We go for like a 2-mile hike
Yeah.
every Sunday, and it's just being able to get out and connect with it. And when we started, they were like, oh my gosh, there's a cricket. Oh my gosh, there's a grasshopper. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's a bug, right? And now that we've been doing it for, however long, now the bugs don't phase them. Of course, if there's a big
Yeah.
wasp in their face, they don't like that. Neither do I. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but we don't come into them as much, right? And it's really so much just getting back to what works and what's simple. I think
Mm-hmm.
everything is just very
Mm-hmm.
complex now.
Yeah.
And of course, like life is complex but simple at the same time, and I think
Yeah.
it's
It
kind of
can
getting
be.
back to that. Yeah. And whether your food or your skincare, it's just we overcomplicate that and it reflects
Yeah.
in our body.
You don't need, I think that's also the message, we don't need so much stuff.
Yeah. I'm a Taurus sun, and that is a lesson. I'm like, I don't need all this. I really don't. Like the materialistic side of me, I'm like, let's just calm down.
But I really, really, really like
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
But I really, really, I know, I know.
Yeah.
I'm a Taurus rising. I know. I'm
Yeah.
like the aesthetics of everything is important. But
Yes.
so I've made this law. I mean, it doesn't mean because you have less that it's not beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
That's the important thing. It's not a quantity thing. It's a quality thing. And I think
Mhm.
like that's an important life lesson because if you learn that quality is in everything more important than quantity,
Mhm.
it's a good place to start.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this past Virgo season, I found myself just wanting to like purge my house and clean and get rid of
Yeah.
things. And I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
need, yeah, it just like sometimes I feel like if you don't feel like aligned and relaxed in your environment, like look around and see what the clutter is or what doesn't
Yeah.
belong and just you don't need it, right?
Well, objects have energy,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting when you go through that decluttering process to to find what really is hard to throw away. Like,
Mm,
oh, can't do that. Like, and there are things that you should never throw away.
mhm.
That I always think of it in terms, but then I don't know because I once you've lived for a long time and you've been through like emptying parents' houses
Mm,
and all these things that your relatives like hung on to that were
mm,
so precious and basically nobody wants them anymore.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's just a lesson, like I don't know, leave a light footprint
Yeah. Well, and we can also
um,
cleanse things as they come into our home too,
as you go along, and
because
that doesn't mean, for example, like those things that your kids drew or
mhm,
the question I ask myself when I declutter is this something that my children would want or
mm,
I think they would want? And then in that case, I keep it. Or I try to give it to them, and if they don't want it, then I know they don't want it.
yeah.
But things like photographs, for example. Like photographs are just such a treasure.
Mm.
Of course, nobody has photographs anymore, but we do. I
Yeah.
still have some.
Oh, I have tons.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we live in this digital world where we've got a lot of photographs
Hmm.
now.
They're just not,
everything's everything is
yeah. They're just not
is
in albums
photographed
in
and
our rooms and under
yeah,
our beds and in our
yeah,
closets and yeah.
yeah, all those places. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, in wrapping up, okay, I have like another question because I know we talked last time about like Ayurveda. And so how can
Mhm.
we if you know, do you take that into consideration when making your products? And then how can we like say we do follow that would you consider your products to be like suitable for all skincares? And I know you said that you're
Yeah.
kind of playing with what works for you and how
Mhm.
much and
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So again, I think if you go from the one extreme to the other, which is sort of the three places where your skin in general can be. So it can be upset. So upset could be anything. It could be eczema, it could be rosacea, it could be acne, upset skin. And this is an Ayurvedic principle, it's pitta, so it needs
Mm-hmm.
calming. So you don't want to, definitely, you just want to be so gentle with it because but you don't want to stop giving it any oil because the way it reacts to not getting any oil is to get angrier. And so you want to soothe it. So the Ayurvedic principle, so the one that I think is really good for acne is the green oil, which even though it's a little thicker, you would use very little. Use it over damp skin. You won't need hyaluronic acid. You won't need that. You just need to really be gentle with your skin. And make sure that when you wash your skin at night, if you have acne skin and you use the coconut oil process, that you use really a warm washcloth and you exfoliate quite well. But just with a warm washcloth, nothing, and use a little bit of oil. And ideally, if your skin has acne, you're not putting anything on it while it has acne. And I know that's hard because you want to cover it up, but if you can stand it, I get it, but if you can stand it, don't put anything on it until it starts to calm down. And don't put anything on it at night either. What you want to do is you want to, it's kind of like that runaway, runaway horse. You want to kind of like calm it down and get it to stop running away because oily skin and acne prone skin, it's like it's going crazy. So you need to calm it down. So the Ayurvedic principle of dry skin is the opposite of pitta. It's vata skin, and that needs water. So if your skin is really dry, you need water. And so you're going to use more of the hyaluronic acid, more of that. And you're going to just you think of the oil in those terms as keeping the moisture in your skin because it's dry, it's going out, it's drying. And then the other skin is aging skin, which is, all our skin is aging. But as you get older, and particularly when you get into menopause, then your skin thins. It doesn't turn over as well, which is why a lot of women, when they're older, will start using retinol. They want that turnover because that helps to prevent wrinkles from forming. But the bottom line is, it's going to happen. And it's okay. But you can certainly keep your skin beautiful during that time. And, I think that's what we're missing too is, going back to more indigenous, the beauty of the old people in indigenous cultures and how revered they are and how beautiful they are if you look at them. And I don't know what it is with this particular society that thinks that old people are not okay. I don't want to generalize, but we're certainly sold a lot of products on the premise that we're going to stay young forever.
Yeah. I think we just don't want to accept that death is inevitable, right? Or we don't remember that it goes on beyond this, and I think there's just that aging thing is the fear of the word death. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting closer. Yeah. No, I think it really helps, the Buddhist way of remembering your death every day is a very, very good practice because death has nothing to do with age, really. It's just a little bit closer, inevitably, but it's actually always close. That's something, the Buddhists teach.
Yeah.
I try to remember. I have actually an app on my phone. It's called We Croak, and it gives you a death quote 3 times a day. But it's really cool. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. At first you're like, you kind of got to get into it, and then after that you're like, oh yeah, that's right.
That like uncomfortable, and then it just becomes like it sets in a little bit.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, and I know like I've really been going down this path of understanding the universe and all that stuff like that. But it's like our culture in itself, like you talk about the elders and aging and things, and it's like just how we parent or have our family units in this society. It's like, the elders are the ones who are actually meant to be raising children, right? And it's celebrated and they accept it and they welcome it, and that's part of their lives. And those who have children pass those children on to the elders, and they can kind of live their life and live their experiences, because it's like truly like we're children having children, like I had my
They
daughter.
were, yeah, yeah,
Well, but even like I had my daughter at 23, or I had just turned
yeah, which
24, which is still
it's
like,
young.
now at 36, I look back and I'm
Yeah.
like, I knew nothing, nothing.
I had my first child at 24 too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just like, I mean, obviously I did it. I'm doing it,
You did it. You
but
did it.
yeah, but the wisdom that, comes when we're older, and the lessons we can teach them when we're older. And I feel like
Did you have
maybe,
grandparents around when you had your kids? Did you have grandparents?
no.
No.
So
Yeah.
like my own grandparents
No,
or my
your
parents,
parents.
I didn't live near them. But even, they live close now, and
Hmm.
they do help a lot, with things. But I feel like on, maybe because we're together, or we're very close all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to say there's resentment, but I feel like sometimes it's difficult to ask for help, maybe.
Oh, yeah, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
yeah. And so, and even in that, it's, I just think it's a different, they,
Yeah.
maybe they
Yeah.
perceive it as they've raised their children, and now it's my time to raise my children, you
Oh,
know?
okay.
I don't know. We haven't really
Yeah.
had that conversation, but it's just
Yeah.
interesting that,
It's
the way it
interesting.
is, but yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, well. But kids, that's really a lot of learning too.
oh my
Those of
gosh,
you who have kids.
my biggest lessons in life,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's a lot of my triggers that come up. I used to just get frustrated, and now I get frustrated, and I'm like, this is something from my childhood. This has nothing to do with them,
Mm-hmm.
and trying
Mm-hmm.
to turn that around
Mm-hmm.
and be like, this is me. This is not, yes, they can be, kids can be frustrating and annoying and
Yeah.
all those
Oh
things,
my God,
but
yes.
but it's like every time we're triggered, it's like just looking within and being like, what is this? What did I not receive in my childhood that I'm hesitant to give them? I think
Yeah.
it's a dark, not a dark, it is a deep pool of lessons being a parent.
Yeah.
And
And sometimes you just can't help just losing
oh
it.
yeah,
And
and
because and the truth of the matter is, and I kind of accepted this long ago, was that I had four kids, and there's a lot of stuff I did wrong.
mm,
There's a
mm-hmm,
lot of I screwed them up in a big way, and then I'm like, oh yeah, but that's right, that's our job as parents.
yeah,
So no matter, you can, and it's good what you're doing. Oh my God, I respect you so much for having how conscious you are in your parenting, which is really important. But it's also important to know that kind of no matter what we do,
yeah, yeah,
they're going to get stuff to deal with, and it's
yeah,
going to have to do with us,
yeah.
and we're going to have to apologize. And so, yeah,
But I think
that's,
that's key, right? Is coming back and
it
having those
is.
conversations, because I
Yes,
think when you don't have those conversations and you don't repair the bonds, that's when trauma happens, right? That's when kids
yes,
feel betrayed,
yes,
abandoned, and unloved,
yes,
And so,
yes.
as frustrated as I get with them sometimes, and I notice I get more frustrated with my daughter, and I think it's just that mother wound. It's a sister wound.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
the feminine, the divine feminine that comes through, that's been passed on through generations. And so, but I consciously try and come back to her, and I'm like, listen, like the other day, so she identifies more as male right now, is
mm-hmm.
and so she was going to a dance and she wanted to wear a suit, and I was like, it would be really cute if we just like maybe put your hair in braids, because she doesn't do much with her hair right now. She kind of just lets it
Right,
go. And so I was starting to braid her hair, and she said like three times, she's like, mom, I don't want you to do this, I don't want to do this. And like little the third time, she's like, mom, I don't want you to braid my hair. And I was like halfway done, and I got so frustrated, I kind of like threw the brush down and I walked out. And then she came and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, there's nothing for you to apologize. You told me three
yeah,
times. I should
yeah,
have listened to you. Like
yeah,
that was
yeah,
my own thing.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
being able to come back to her and let her know, like, that was nothing that you did, right? Like you
yeah,
were just being honest in what you felt, and I should have listened to that. But
yeah.
I
No,
did. I
good for
got frustrated in the
you.
moment. I threw the brush and I just I
Yeah,
stormed out because I was triggered by something, But
yeah.
um
It's so interesting. And then, but good on you for recognizing it, because I know that that was such a big moment in the healing with my own children. It's just
mm,
to really listen to them, and hear their side of things, how they in their childhood experiences that were traumatizing, to A, recognize them, and B, express how they felt.
mhm,
And then I got the chance to say how I felt it, because of course they imagined that I was feeling something completely different,
mm, mhm,
right?
mhm,
Because that's what you do as a child. You you don't understand why your parent is behaving the way they are, and you just kind of assume it's your fault.
Yeah.
So yeah, good on you for doing that. But it's never too late. It's good you're starting early, but any listeners who haven't done that yet with
Mm-hmm.
their kids, go do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
absolutely. I
really
think
good.
you can always heal, just
Yeah,
with awareness
if
and
they'll talk, because they don't
yeah.
always want to talk. That's the
Yeah, but
problem.
I believe that you can heal yourself, and in doing that, you are still going to heal an aspect of your child, whether they're conscious and aware of it or not, right? It's
Absolutely,
we are so connected,
absolutely.
especially, I mean, you carried a child with it in your womb for 9 months, right? And birthed them. And I think there's a bond, an unspoken, energetic bond that is going to be felt.
Oh, there's no doubt that I've experienced. I mean, the more work I did on myself and the more deep inner work that I did, the better my relationship got with all my
Mm-hmm.
children, and the better the relationship gets with everybody around me. My
Mm-hmm.
own parents, you know, there's still a couple sticklers in the family
I
tree,
think there always will be, right?
I
Yeah.
think so. I think
Yeah.
there's something about it just doesn't
Yeah.
work.
And I think even those, because I have one for sure. And I think even in those, it's just like that forgiveness and moving on. And
Yeah,
just when you get triggered, just take a deep breath. And,
yeah,
there are some
it's
people
okay.
that just are resistant to it. So,
Yeah, that's for sure.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
skincare, yeah. So a
yeah.
lot of I'm really excited to share this new line. Well, it's the same line, but talking about environmental too. So the other
Mm-hmm.
thing that's important to me is not plastic waste.
Mm-hmm.
Single-use plastic is really a problem, and the thing that drives it home more than anything is, here we are in Hawaii, and I would say that 98% of the plastic that comes on island goes into landfill. Just imagine, like in your mind, how much that is going into a hole in the ground in
Mm-hmm.
an island like this,
Yeah.
where, it's not going to stay buried for long. It's going to end up in the ocean. So, yeah, that's a big thing, and it's very sad to see. But I'm trying one little bottle of product at a time
Yeah.
to
And
to not do that.
even that little, I mean, it makes an impact. So,
Even if it's just raising awareness,
mm-hmm.
for me, it's a win,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more about really passing on the message than anything else. I know that that probably is insignificant and, in the scheme of things, but it's just, any step you can take in the right direction is a step in the right direction. And even if it's a tiny little minuscule little step, it's a
Mm-hmm.
step. And so I think that's also what I've allowed myself is to say, look, just keep doing it, keep taking those steps, even if they're small, even if they seem insignificant. If you really feel that it's important, do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this work that I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Just like keep dialing it in.
Yeah. And if you could leave the listeners with just like one tip to for to help their skincare, what would it be?
Smile.
Smile. I love that. Yeah.
Your skin always looks prettier when you smile.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't there like a statistic or something where it's like it takes more muscles to frown than smile?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think you have to really work at it, but we're so good at it.
Yeah.
We're so good at
We
frowning.
are. We definitely are.
But a smile is a reaction to a feeling.
Mm.
And so if you can, and I'm not like good at this, believe me, but if you can teach yourself to smile when you don't feel like smiling,
Mm.
that
Mm-hmm.
can help you a lot.
Yeah.
It's just, if you can get the feeling that makes you smile,
Mm.
look for that feeling that makes you smile.
Well, and I think sometimes when
Smile.
you smile, you can't help but feel something, right? Because it's like you're
Yeah,
sitting there with a
it
smile on
works
your
both
face, fake or
ways.
not,
Yeah,
like it's still there.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't help but to feel some little
yeah,
element of joy. But yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming
Well,
on
thank
here and having this
you. Thank you.
conversation. It's been,
Yeah.
as always, so wonderful and beautiful to have conversations with you. Of
Well, and thank you for allowing me to share what I do.
course.
It's really important to me, and I appreciate it a lot.
Mm.
So, because I could pay Facebook, but I'd rather talk to you guys.
Yeah. This is more fun.
It's way more fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Okay,
so
bye,
much.
Rochelle.
Bye.
Take care.